It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
I've got to sneak in a quick podcast today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast. It means a lot, whether you're on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're listening to this. Maybe you're just listening to it on the website, shawnslife.com. Thank you for finding the podcast. Thank you for telling someone about it. And for those of you who are on Patreon, thank you for being supporters of this podcast over at patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast. I was supposed to have a guest today, and this was supposed to be a little bit of a longer episode today. But last night, just like the Minnesota Timberwolves, I fell asleep during the basketball game. And I did miss the end of it. I missed seeing Luka and Kyrie celebrating. But it also meant that I didn't record my podcast last night. So that also means I've got to do a quick one today because the kids are running around, running amok. And they're either driving my wife crazy. Maybe they have the markers out and they're coloring on walls. Who's to know? I'm to find out. That's how the weekend's going to get started here. We'll get into a Kelly's What Are You Into, something I'd recommend for your families. Like I said, quick podcast today. I wanted to bring this up because I was blown away by it. Yesterday, I went and my Uncle Trent, was out and about doing something. I texted him seeing how he was doing. His family's out of town this week, so a little check-in to see how bachelor life was going. And he had mentioned he was going down to this coffee shop here in Lexington. I have been obsessed with the lack of coffee here in Lexington to the point where it's noticeable coming from the Pacific Northwest, apparently the land of coffee outside of Columbia. And it's noticeable when you're here as an outsider from there that the coffee is just Starbucks and a couple coffee stands. And I was driving my buddy Alex to the airport last night, and I'd mentioned, man, there's just a lack of coffee stuff here. And he goes, what are you talking about? We have a lot of it. And I thought, okay, this is another one of those things like churches in Lexington. When you're an outsider coming into Lexington, you say, you have a church on every corner. You have so many churches. And people here go, we do? And it's like, yeah, you have a million churches. Coming from the outside in, you go, you don't have a lot of coffee stands, but people here think they do because you've grown up here, right? And this is all you know. Well, I'm telling you, you don't have them compared to, like the Pacific Northwest, the home of coffee. And one of the things that is interesting to me, and I realized this yesterday, there's not a lot of cafes, and I Lexington people, if you're listening, I know you're going to say here are the names of them. I'm saying like everywhere. In Spokane, back up there in the Pacific Northwest, every neighborhood it felt like had some kind of place to sit down and get coffee. You had multiple drive-thrus to go get coffee, and then you'd have your place to sit down and get coffee. And I thought they were always really cool. They were always really busy, and I just assumed they were successful businesses. Well, I've not seen a lot here until yesterday. A family friend, Brewster is his name, he opened a coffee shop here in Lexington. I think it might be called Brewster's or McLeod's Coffee. I think that it's one of those two. And it's in this strip mall. But the second I walked in, I was like, oh my goodness, this reminds me of home. It's got the aesthetic of a Pacific Northwest coffee shop, kind of all the mismatched stuff. So it's got a bunch of tables, but none of them are exactly the same. It's got some different chairs at different tables to sit at. The vibe was right at Brewster's Coffee Shop. And I was blown away. Like, why aren't there a million of these in Lexington? Because there aren't. But again, there are up in my neck of the woods. It was a comfortable place to be yesterday, and then all I could think was for the rest of the day was, how do I come up with enough money to make one of these things outside of one of the very nice neighborhoods here in Lexington? Because we got to get this city off of the automatically we go to Starbucks kick. We've got, rise up, people of Lexington. We've got to get over the Starbucks is the only option. They dominate this city, and they don't need to. So my buddy Alex did say he's gone to a couple different coffee places here in town because there are some, and he said their coffee stinks. So that might be part of the problem. We got a coffee problem in Lexington from a guy who doesn't like coffee. That's coming from a guy who doesn't like coffee. So I've noticed it. And it was nice yesterday to have a little taste of home, but also a surprise that I had not seen a whole lot of these. Now, if you do live in Lexington and you're thinking, Sean, there are a million of them, let me know where they're at because I'd love to go check them out. And they just haven't been in the worlds that I'm living in, I guess, which is South Lexington. I have not noticed a whole lot of these of coffee shops. Again, I've already talked about the fact on the podcast there's just no drive-thrus here, no coffee drive-thrus. You are a prisoner to Starbucks. There's one other place that is their coffee wasn't great. This is going to sound bad. Dutch Bros. I love Dutch Bros. So Dutch Bros is one of my favorite coffee stands up in the old Pacific Northwest, but that's because I don't love coffee. I love their non-coffee drinks, and I think they make amazing non-coffee drinks. But I had heard from a couple people the coffee wasn't as great. I'm not someone to like weigh in on that because I wouldn't know good coffee from bad coffee. I just wouldn't do that. But I love Dutch Bros because they had a lot of great sweeter drinks and let's get as far away from the taste of coffee as possible. So we have a Dutch Bros here in Lexington. It's awesome. I love it. It's far away, so I don't get to go to it a lot, but if I do, it makes me very happy. But there's another place in town that's kind of like that. I felt like when I got a coffee, I could tell, okay, this would be one of those coffees that the coffee snobs would go, no, this is not the one. I liked it because it was super sweet, didn't taste like coffee. And that was the other drive-through. So people would tell me, there is a drive-through. It's right here. And I thought, okay, but you guys, I don't even like coffee, and I can feel the lack of respect for the game. For the coffee game here. Okay, where are we? What are we doing? Why have I taught coffee for this long? I don't have any clue why. The NBA Finals are set. It's Minnesota Timberwolves. It's Dallas Mavericks. Sorry. It's Dallas Mavericks against the Boston Celtics. This is a weird NBA Finals. I do not like the Celtics one bit. And the Mavericks, if you had told me before the season the Mavericks were in the finals, I would have been so stinking excited. Because going into the season, I love Kyrie and I love Luka. But as this season went on, this was the season for me that had a turning point on Luka Doncic. And watching a lot of Mavericks games and then watching him through the playoffs, I have to come over to the side of the Marcuses of the world who would continually tell me it was dumb of me to like Luka. He really is a little too much in the whining category. I've joined that club now. I want to love him because he's so good at basketball. Big shot maker, great rebounder, good defender. I really like Luka, his game. But even I, as a supporter, previous supporter of Luka, have to admit, he is really hard to watch because of the whining. And as much as I will be cheering for the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals, it's going to be hard to cheer for him and hope that the Mavericks win a title, knowing that every single time Luka touches the basketball, there's a 90% chance that he whines about something. I thought Ryan Russillo had a good... Was it Ryan Russillo? I think it might have been Russillo. No, maybe it was the guys off No Dunks. Either way, somebody had the great opinion of, if someone whines in an NBA game, stop the game immediately, and then review the play. If it is a foul, you get the foul. Maybe you even get free throws off a whine. If it is not a foul and you whined and you wasted all of our time, a family member comes out of the crowd and they cut off a finger. Is it very intense? Yeah. Maybe a little over the edge? Maybe. But something's got to happen to control the whining. It's out of control in the league, in La Liga. And I actually don't mind the old, let's stop the game for a second, and the punishment can be huge. Put it up on the big screen. Let everyone see it. If you whine and it's nothing, you're out. Well, your family member loses a finger. I thought it was a fun analogy. I wish I remembered if it was Russillo or the No Dunks guys. It was one of the two. I feel like it was Russillo. So shout out to the person who came up with that idea. I rather enjoyed it.
Kelly's, what are you into?
I hit Kelly's what are you into early. I didn't even mention. I really want the Mavs to win. Even though Luka's a whiny baby, I love Kyrie, and I still want the Mavs to win. I do not like Boston. I'm going to get to watch Jason Tatum and really watch him since he's in the finals. I feel like he's really good, but then I also, for some reason, don't like him. And I think I need to try to figure out and lock in on why that is this playoffs or this series, this NBA Finals. Why is it that I do not like Jason Tatum? Is it simply because he's in a Celtics jersey? Because that might be it. But I want to watch his game and figure out what it is. I don't even like him in commercials. Something about him I don't like. And we're all here for the Kyrie show anyways, right? Everyone's tuning into the NBA Finals to see what Kyrie can do, what crazy dribble move he's going to pull off, what weird layup he's going to do. We're all here for Kyrie for the finals. I'm excited. I am excited for the finals. I wish it had been the Timberwolves, but the Mavs are better, and I want the better team. I want the better team playing. I hit the button once. It was quiet. Let's hit it again so it's a little louder. Kelly, you get double shout-outs today.
Kelly's, what into?
I don't know if I've mentioned this. Everything strings together on the podcast, but it's Friday here at the Widmer house, and we have started Pizza Friday, Frozen Pizza Friday. Every Friday night, we do frozen pizzas here at the Widmer house, and it is my wife came up with it. It's my favorite thing we do during the week. I'm already excited about it. One of the things, though, that happens is my wife gets different frozen pizzas. So we kind of have been trying through the frozen pizza world, and that's been very enjoyable. So I highly recommend doing this. And the reason I bring it up, if you have one that you like that we need to try, let us know, because we're in trying frozen pizza mode. The other problem is, because we want to try frozen pizzas, we are killing ourselves on Friday nights because we eat 50 frozen pizzas. We just sit there and we're like, look, let's share one. Oh, but we got two different flavors. Let's try them both. And there's just pizza laying around on the counter. We're eating it, right? By the time we go to bed, we're eating it. So it's like, okay, well, we'll both have a couple slices of these different pizzas, and then we'll have leftovers. Leftovers for an hour later. I love frozen pizza night, and then my stomach hates me on Saturday for frozen pizza night. Also, shout out to my wife for not only being really smart with the frozen pizza night, which also my daughter doesn't like pizza. I think we've talked about that. This is a problem, a legitimate problem in our house. How do you not like pizza? And your Anna and Sean Widmer's kid doesn't like pizza. That you could have won a lot of money betting on that one. You could have won a lot of money. But shout out to my wife. She ran frozen. She ran a small business this last week and a half, selling a bunch of my daughter's stuff. We were kind of clearing up the baby's room and we're getting rid of all the girl things. So my wife did a huge sale on them and it just sold a ton. She was legit running a small business. She had spreadsheets. Her phone was just going crazy. She had a calculator out. It was amazing. She just crushed it by getting rid of my daughter's clothes. And now my son will have a room to get into, which is going to be awesome. Okay. Let's get to comments. Let's wrap up the podcast today. We'll start on youtube.com/Bommarooski. You can watch the podcast there. She said, oh gosh, I forgot to comment. Yes, Spokane stinks as a place to navigate. I think it's because it was a series of little towns that all grew together. Add in construction season, and the answer is always, you can't get there from here. Roberta, preach. A lot of people had comments on the road conditions in Spokane, the comments on that. No one dumber than Zach, my cousin, who I don't get it. I had mentioned on the thing, you go from the South Hill, let's say you want to go to Chick-fil-A up north, and that you can't get there. And he responded with, you pass a whole lot of great chicken sandwich shops on the way. I said, okay. So I said, what are they? And remember, I've got kids, so we need milkshakes, fries, and chicken nuggets to go along with the chicken sandwiches, right? And then just no response. Just comes in swinging his big ego around in my podcast. Hey, you pass a million good chicken sandwich places. I ask him where an alternative is, right? To get my family fed. We're driving from Eagle Ridge behind the South Hill up north, and then he just disappears. He's like, oh, I'm going to keep him to myself. Either that or he was wrong, which Zach would never be wrong. Right, Zach? Right, Zach? Love you, buddy. And thank you, Roberta, for the comment. Okay, let's get over to Sean'sLife.com. Zoe's Aunt Byrne says, If is a great movie. Don't let anybody tell you different. Hobbs sat through the whole thing and laughed. The Warrior movie I have on DVD, watched at home. Old 70s movie. I think it's on Netflix or something. Streaming, going to have to slam you about slamming Spokane, about getting to places. It's one of the easiest places. I don't like Seattle or Everett. If you do GPS, it can tell you 3 different ways to go. Love you. Okay, Yvonne, I will tell you, you're in the minority. You're in the minority. It is easy to get from place to place, right? It is easy because the roads are pretty easy to understand. North, south, east, west. Not a lot of loop-de-loops, not a lot of freeways to merge onto. But those north to south, east to west are all just regular streets, and it takes you forever. Oh my gosh. Red light to red light. Red light to red light. Never green light to green light. Green light to red light. Green light to red light. It's all it is. Ian said this, Warriors come out to play. I think that's how you say it. One of the most memorable, possibly iconic lines ever, and it was totally ad-libbed. Excuse me while I die. Okay, that's the beginning of Ian's message. Yvonne and Ian, I didn't watch Warriors. I had it locked and loaded. I got sidetracked because I remembered I hadn't watched Welcome to Wrexham. So I watched the newest episode of that instead. I will watch Warriors. I will. Okay, Ian goes on to say this. Moana 2 trailer just dropped as well. Wolves, Clooney, and Pitt are two fixers that have to work together to fix a problem. Final shape is coming sooner than they realized. Final shape is coming sooner. They released the launch trailer. I'm gonna respond to these one by one. So I think that's the new Destiny, the final Destiny. Is that right? It looked awesome. The trailer looked awesome for the new expansion for the Destiny 2 video game. Ian goes on to say, Keith David is good, and they made him sound as close to Lance Reddick as possible, but not the same. Sean interjecting, I believe that's Destiny 2. Ian, the trailer looks sick. And then he went on to say, been playing Ghost of Tsushima, so good. Been streaming a minimum of 1 hour every night I play. Yeah, check out Ian on Twitch, twitch.tv/voodoo-jester. Really good stuff, and I think Ghost of Tsushima looks awesome, Ian. Awesome. Ron said, thank you for the comment, Ian. I appreciate all those things. I need to go learn more about the Destiny 2 final chapter. I need to know more about it. It looks awesome. Okay, Ron said this. I got some movie recs. Oh, okay, thank you. Here we go. I'm really into movies and stuff and had to think what movies had great acting from the last 5 years, and here are some of my faves. Here we go. Okay, Ron said this. The Farewell, The Fablemans, The Banshees of Inisherin, Parasite, Sound of Metal, The Holdovers, American Fiction, Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that's all of them. Ron, I want to watch Killers of the Flower Moon, so that would be next on my list. I'm putting these down on a piece of paper. I'm going to slowly watch them over the summer. Thank you, Ron. And then finally we have this one. Maybe try co-ed. And this message said this. Marcus and Mike would have a better chance of winning Hoop Fest if they played with someone their own age. Just saying. I mean, I can argue with Zach's dumb comment about great chicken sandwich places and then not having an answer. I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. 100% they would have a better chance winning Hoop Fest with not only someone their own age, but someone their own skill set. But they're willing to drag an old man along for the journey, and I am here to grab onto their coattails and hopefully ride it to victory. Thank you for listening today.